Today we're ranking every single hero in Clash Royale from worst to best. And before we get into our ranking, I am using stats from the beginning of this season, the end of last season, factoring in the balance changes, and also using a little bit of guesstimation to predict what the meta is going to look like. Now, no guesstimation is needed for the worst hero in Clash Royale, which is the Musketeer. However, every single hero on this list is capable of getting value and has decks that it's good in. That's an important caveat. It's not like the Evo tier list where the Goblin Giant is the worst thing you've ever seen in the history of the game. The Musketeer hero, even being the worst hero in the game right now, still has opportunities to get value. They're just a lot less. Power creep is at an all-time high with heroes, so if a hero is not spam the ability every single time they're played, they're obviously going to be a lot worse. And Musketeer, her turret honestly is placed in a little bit of an awkward position, so against a lot of defenses, unless your Musketeer is really deep, you're going to be placing a turret directly into a bunch of like troops, and usually unless it's a Skarmy, that's not a good thing to do. So most of the time you're not even going to end up hitting the ability, and a lot of decks would rather have an Evo Musketeer than a Hero Musketeer. This one surprises me a little bit, but he has the second lowest win percentage since the start of the season out of any hero in ranked, which is kind of crazy. He's got like an 8% usage rate and a 48% win rate. But it does make sense. The Magic Archer was being used because he was the most broken thing ever and you just hit the ability and kept him alive instantly. But now that his ability's 2 Elixir, you start to wonder, would I rather have this or would I rather have a different ranged card? Given that ranged cards are kind of the most important thing in the meta, and kind of like Skelly Drags took over and started dominating, you've got competition directly from things like the Bowler now, right? They kind of play the same role, even though the Bowler doesn't hit air, obviously. The Magic Archer has seen a drastic decrease in use and win percentage, even though he's still used a fair bit. But you can now make a good argument for using any other ranged troop instead of him, especially since if you factor in hitting his ability is 6 Elixir, now you kind of don't have that it factor from the Magic Archer anymore, and he's fell below a lot of the other heroes and got phased out of most of the decks he was in. This might surprise some of you, but I have the Dark Prince at number 11, and appears right now that he is very balanced. Right now, it appears. Do not crucify me if it turns out that the pros make a really cool tech with him. He starts dominating the meta all of a sudden. I don't really see that happening, but it's always there's always potential for, you know, decks to be figured out, the meta to settle, and for him to climb up the list, right? But right now, the biggest thing that I'm looking at is I have to kick an Evo/hero out of a deck to put the Dark Prince in. And we've already kind of done that when we went from 4 slots to 3 slots. So now, is there something that I'm willing to give up to put a Dark Prince hero in the deck? And so far the answer is pretty much no. Like in Minor Rocket Cycle, you don't have any other cards, so you just slap the Dark Prince in there and you don't replace anything. But I have to replace something to play this card. That's the biggest thing that I'm going, I don't think I want to do that, because Dark Prince is okay. Sometimes the Rhino gets to the tower, sometimes it does a heaping helping of damage, but oftentimes I'm not really using the ability, or the ability's not getting that much value, and I'd rather have something that's really overtuned or more broken, so I'm going to play them instead. Dark Prince is still a good card, but I don't know if the hero kind of is good enough to make me put him in the deck. Time to show some true magic. No, I can't actually validate, like, putting him any higher on the list. I like this guy, and I think he's great at, like, stopping win conditions. I think he's great in a lot of mid-ladder decks. He's easy to play. He's intuitive, which is the kind of the same thing there. But like the Wizard hero is just objectively bad statistically in ranked mode right now. I don't know if that's because Wizard players just are like a lot worse than other players right now. But the win percentage is the lowest of any hero at 47%. He's only being used in 4% of decks. So those stats easily combine to be the worst in the game right now. The Ice Golem, which is actually may or may not be next, has a way higher win percentage and a lower use percentage. So I have him higher than the Wizard. But the Wizard, honestly, don't let the statistics tell the whole story. If you want to play the Wizard, I think you'll enjoy him. Go ahead and play him. I physically can't move him up the list, and I can't validate slapping him in meta decks, which is probably why he's not as good as he could be. But if you want to have some fun, you like the Wizard, I think he's a great hero to put in your deck, and you will see good value out of him. But for the Wizard being the Wizard, there's a lot of situations where I'd rather have a different ranged card in top ladder meta decks, just because of whether I'm fireball baiting, whether I need to counter specific matchups, whether I need a better offensive card. There's many reasons the Wizard doesn't live up to his expectations, but I still like the card. Now, Ice Golem. We kind of hinted at, well, I didn't hint, I told you he was next. He is next. The Ice Golem is, I think, the lowest used champion, or hero, sorry. He's the lowest used hero, and that kind of makes sense. Because, I mean, he's probably, out of every card on the list, the lowest used card in general. Maybe, yeah, I think he's just the lowest used card in general. There's not that many decks that use Ice Golem. If you use an Ice Golem, consider looking at the other heroes in your deck. If you have better heroes or better evos, then maybe use those. But the Ice Golem, ever since he got that knockback nerf, isn't really the most polarizing thing of all time. He's still really good. If you have an Ice Golem deck, use the hero or consider using the hero. At least try him out, because you're going to see a lot of success with his ability to stun things, freeze things. Just because he isn't used as much, because you can't just slap an Ice Golem in your deck, doesn't mean he's not really good, because he is still pretty strong, and especially paired with Hog Rider will dominate things. Now, I had the Mini Pekka a bit lower, but so far this season it does seem like the Mini Pekka is doing a lot of a better job. Don't grammar me. The Mini Pekka right now sitting at a solid 8% usage rate with a 49% win rate. Could be better, but then I also think to myself, look how many chuds I see playing Mini Pekka who just have no idea to play the game. I feel like they're dragging the rest of the Mini Pekka users down. Hero Mini Pekka is a solid option. He gets a lot of value, and honestly, the Mini Pekka is just good as a card. And then you have the ability, not every time, no pun intended, to level up and heal, and you can get either an extra damage on the tower or keep him alive on defense longer, or just help you shred through things easier. There's a lot of situations where the Mini Pekka won't do that much, but I do have to rank him above the Wizard and the Ice Golem because he is more used and he often sees a lot more success, and the decks that have Mini Pekka in them are pretty viable right now, especially giant decks with the bowler. So I'm also giving the Mini Pekka a big boost because bowler Mini Pekka are two cards that synergize with each other, play in a lot of whoa, we're moving on. I will say the giant is a better hero than the Mini Pekka is, which is, I understand, kind of weird. Like, what's really? The giant has the ability to just change the entire way you play the game. Like, if I have a certain counter to the giant, I have an Inferno Dragon, or I have something, you know, let's use a more, I have a Pekka. I'm no longer allowed to use the Pekka on the giant. That changes the entire way the game is played. So I think that the giant, although you don't hit his ability as much maybe as like something like the Mini Pekka, or it's not as flashy, just having the card, having the ability, no pun intended, to press the ability, is more of an impact than the other cards that we've listed so far. And even though you don't have to play it every time, if the thought is there that, hey, the giant is going to hurl me to the other side of the arena, I need to do something differently. Even if you don't end up hitting the ability that often. And giant being a win condition, obviously going to be used less than these cards, but still sitting at a very solid 51% win rate and getting buffed by his friend the bowler coming to town. I think I had Barb Barrel in the top 2 last time I did the hero rankings, and it was arguable you could put him in number 1. However, he got pretty hardly nerfed. That doesn't make, not hardly, like, no, he got nerfed hardly. No. He got nerfed his nerf was big. His nerf was big, and the Barb Barrel no longer rerolls to the tower as easily, which was a big thing that made it so highly used, because you were able to use a Barb Barrel as like your secondary win condition and get a lot of damage on the tower. And now that you can't really do that, you just go back to using the normal Barb Barrel. It's the priority thing I was talking about earlier, where I now want to use something that's more impactful, so I'm going to shift the Barb Barrel out. Even though he's a great card, I'm going to stick with just using the base Barb Barrel. Same with something like the Magic Archer, right? He still has all the firepower of his normal card, but now if I'm spending 2 elixir for his warp ability, then I don't want to use that ability as much, right? So why am I using the card if I'm not going to use the ability? That's the same thing with the Barb Barrel. However, it still has the potential to heal the Barb, be annoying. You just have to get a little bit closer to the tower. Still great on defense against the things where you need multiple swarm counters. Not a bad hero at all, just slightly less used in like every deck in the game now. Booty! Yes, the bowler is coming in at number 5, and I think that that is a fair place to put him right now, because I think fear-mongering and putting him at like top 2 or 1 is just unnecessary. Like, the season just started. Yes, he's strong. Yes, he's ridiculous. Yes, they'll probably patch the thing with the skeleton general eventually. I say eventually because I got no idea when they're actually going to do anything. But the bowler is really good. He's really good as a normal card, and now you have the ability to turn him into a win condition, to apply pressure from the opposite lane, to just make you have to respond to a bowler on top of everything else in the bowler decks, and I could easily see him climbing up the list as well. But currently, right now, sitting at around number 5, I feel like is a great place to put him. But yes, there's a very real chance this card climbs into the top 3 and continues terrorizing the meta. Definitely not fun to face right now at all. The Balloon Hero is up next, and I think the Balloon Hero is a very, very solid card right now. It doesn't blow me away necessarily in terms of the hero ability, but I don't think that that's the only thing that goes into the ranking. Balloon is one of the most used win conditions right now and the most successful win conditions and one of the most versatile win conditions, being able to use in Lumber Loon, being able to use in Miner Loon, Lava Loon, and I think that Balloon Hero, while it won't be the most flashy and get you an ability every single time it's used, it's like the Giant where you have to think about what you're playing into the Balloon because the Balloon ability is going to deal massive damage to any sort of Musketeer-ish health troop, as well as deal splash damage to things like goblin gangs and whatever. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for your Balloon. And now that Bowler is buffing the meta for Lumber Loon, I feel like it pushes up Balloon a little bit more. And the counters to the current meta right now don't include too many anti-balloon statements. Like NATO isn't being used the most we've ever seen. There's that one Xe Freeze deck, but come on, we give up against Xe Freeze anyways as Balloon players. I'm putting the Hero Goblins in the top 3. I don't want to hear it. Their use percentage is very high. Their win percentage, very solid. I was surprised to see it at 51% right now in ranked. The Goblins are very solid. And the Goblins, they have the ability to, again, threaten you every single time they're played, but not every single time you play the ability. That makes sense. Like, they die, I'm sitting here going, are you going to use the ability? You're going to use the ability? You're going to use the ability? Yes? No? Maybe? While everything else is going on, and it's very easy for Goblins to sneak through, get a bunch of damage, and ruin your day. Goblins, very good, very versatile, although obviously not at their peak. They are still very strong, and I think that we're seeing a bit of a comeback in certain bait decks that is letting Goblins be a little bit more used. And again, if the meta unfolds to something where Bowler is like every single game, maybe Goblins aren't, you know, gonna fall a little bit, but we'll see. I've got the Knight at number 2. Maybe that's debatable, and I think that you can make a valid argument for reordering and reshuffling 2 through 6 however you want, but I think that the Knight is just more of a impactful card than all of the other heroes that we've mentioned so far, because of the ability to just, like, you can't stop it, really. Like, you can hope to bridge block, maybe, that's it. But all the other heroes, you can, like, to a certain extent, stop. Like, you can block the Bowler. You can, you know, block the Barb barrel. You can prevent it from getting as close to your tower. You can, you know, have something down for the Goblins. For the Knight, he just tanks. He gets an extra shield, which makes him more of a threat. He does more damage. He takes more damage. He will now be able to pull anything off of whatever your win condition is. So you can play with the Balloon, you can play him with Hog, you can play him with Drill, you can play him with anything, and he's going to be able to taunt and pull everything off, especially with Goblin Drill. He's one of the reasons that Goblin Drill is a top 3 deck in the game. And if you're struggling to play Goblin Drill, I think you need to rethink how you're using the Hero Knight and just completely give in to taunting with him. Like, he is so good, and he fits in almost any deck in the entire game. Even if he's not the go-to choice, you can put him in the deck and you will see results, because just being able to distract anything that's not a win condition is such a big deal. And I think he's one of the best evos in the game, or heroes, but not number 1. I'm sorry, I refuse to remove this card from the number 1 spot. I just do. It's a teleporting Mega Minion. This card dictates the entire flow of the game. You're not allowed to play a card with low HP near your tower. You just aren't. You aren't. It restricts the entire airspace. Like, you can teleport to defense, you can teleport to offense, you can nuke cards, you can spawn on the tower, you can just use the card as a normal Mega Minion for most of the time anyways, which is already a really good card. The Mega Minion's insane. This card is absolutely insane. I don't think you can knock it down from number 1. It needs another nerf. Even that it got a nerf, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The nerf doesn't do anything. What, it takes 1.5 extra seconds for me to lock on your tower? The fact is I'm locked on your tower. Let me know what you think of the hero list.